Olympic Stadium of Montreal is one of the most infamous stadiums ever built. Built for the 1976 Olympics, it was to serve as the home of the Montreal Expos of the MLB afterward. When it was built, this stadium's architecture appeared ahead of its time. However, it was anything but. This is Olympic Stadium, the Endless Money Pit. Olympic Stadium was built from 1973 to 76, hosting many of the main events of the 1976 Summer Olympics. It was not without much delay and expense though, as a combination of overruns on expenses, harsh winters, and labor strikes led to the venue not even being completely finished in time for the Olympics.
If you want to go hunting for Olympic white elephants, well then this is the place to be. Athens, Greece. The Olympics were born here, so when they returned in 2004, the country was flush with national pride. But today, 10 years later, pride has turned to shame, as white elephants, which can be spotted all over this sprawling city, stand as giant reminders of incompetence and waste.
In 1997, Athens was awarded the 2004 Summer Olympics. This was 1 year after the Olympic Committee became very unhappy with Atlanta for relying heavily on corporate sponsorship to fund the 1996 Games and for primarily using temporary venues or modest facilities. So they told the small country of Greece to build things bigger and grander and to use primarily public funding for it. The facilities were spectacular for the 2 weeks the Olympics were held, but there was virtually no plan for what to do with them once the Games was complete. Currently, the only facility getting any consistent use is the main stadium, which is used by the local soccer club and for various other events. Most of the other facilities are getting no use whatsoever. For instance, a beach volleyball stadium was built for the Games despite Athens sitting on an actual beach. Likewise, the baseball stadium is getting no use in a country where the national baseball team had to be made up entirely of Americans with Greek heritage. Just to make matters worse for the small country, these were the first Summer Olympics held after September the 11th. Needless to say, security was a bit of a concern. It's estimated the Games cost Greece upwards of 5% of their entire GDP. It's no surprise that the country was plunged into economic chaos just a few years after the Games.
The Bird's Nest Stadium in Beijing was the crown jewel of the 2008 Summer Games. After the Games, the owners struggled to find a use for the stadium, although it has been used for soccer matches and even a League of Legends tournament in recent years. The stadium will be reused for the opening ceremonies of the 2022 Winter Olympics, marking the first time that a stadium that hosted the Summer Games will also be hosting the Winter Games.
On November 4th, 2008, the people of California voted to fund this: a high-speed rail line. Many countries around the world have had high-speed trains for decades, and this would be the US's attempt to finally catch up. The train would whisk passengers from LA to San Francisco in under 3 hours, and it was all set to open in 2020. Today, it's 2022, and California's high-speed rail project is famous for being a disaster.
Will be the most expensive project in state history.
By now, almost everyone has heard about Berlin's disastrous, off-budget, over-schedule new airport, but few know the real story about what went wrong. For years now, I've been following the saga of Berlin-Brandenburg Airport, international code BER. How could such incompetence and corruption happen here in Germany, a country famed for its efficiency? Why did it take Berlin 12 years and more than 6.5 billion euros, 10 times the original budget, to finish this airport?
Did you realize that right in the heart of America sits a sprawling and abandoned subway system featuring over 2 miles of derelict tunnels? These hollow and forgotten places represent a time when the country was on the verge of its peak ambitions. Yet those lofty dreams were crushed in the face of the First World War, leaving these empty spaces behind to be hidden away forever. This is the story of Cincinnati's lost subway,